from Mél Baierlé Photography. I'm a Swiss photographer. I want to chat a bit today. So first of all, I want to apologize for my English. I'm not an English-speaking person. I'm from Switzerland, so I speak German and also French. I will probably make many mistakes and I'm sorry, but I hope you will understand what I will tell today. And if not, you can always write a comment and I can write, it's maybe easier. Also, it's the first time that I'm doing a video. I never made one. It's a new experience. It's actually quite weird. Yeah, so I'm sorry if it's not perfect, but the purpose of the video is not to be perfect, is actually to just share with you some thoughts. I want to speak with you about something that happened to me and that made me a bit insecure and that raised some questions for me as an artist, but also as a citizen. Last week I made a photo shoot with a beautiful model and an awesome makeup artist. She's really talented. I will put the links in the description box below if you want to check them out. We made a photo shoot and it had been quite a long time already that we had spoken about it. We were actually collecting ideas when I stumbled upon a picture of a makeup that was made by another artist with a beautiful and really simple white line in the face of the model. And yeah, I really felt attracted to this picture and yeah, I felt a connection with it and I felt I would like to use that for my photo shoot. So I spoke with the makeup artist about it and also with the model and everybody liked the idea. Then we met for the photo shoot. The makeup artist painted the face of the model and the result was really beautiful. And then we made a photo shoot. We were in a beautiful place in the middle of nature, really calm place, peaceful, a lot of mountains around us and trees and plants and really beautiful. It was an awesome place, good energy, the model was really nice, she laughed a lot and it was so funny also and yeah, really a nice day. The makeup artist, really a calm person, really delightful, everything. I made the pictures and I went home and I looked at them and something weird happened. On the one side I loved the pictures, they were really beautiful with this nature theme and the makeup, the model is awesome, really she's beautiful, I want to work with her again. Everything was quite perfect. But at the same time I felt discomfort looking at the pictures because actually the paintings on the model's face were looking a lot like some paintings that indigenous peoples do. So indigenous peoples used a lot paintings for rituals, for stages in life. They have a lot to do with their cosmovision, with their spirituality also, with important stages of their lives. It's much more than just beautiful paintings. It's actually really something with a depth and with meaning. Traditions can have really powerful meanings to people. I realized that the paintings that we did on Wenning's face and that the shooting reminded a lot of indigenous people and of their traditions. And I actually felt bad about it. So why did I feel bad about it? I felt it could be cultural appropriation, and that's what this whole video is about actually. It's to explain what cultural appropriation is and what I think we can do about it as artists. Cultural appropriation is when a dominant culture takes symbols of an oppressed culture or a minority culture, uses it outside of the context, or uses it to generate profit without giving back something to the people from where this symbol comes. So it has a lot to do also with power relationships. So especially if you look at the history on colonialization, the whole history about slavery, it's about power relationships between cultures, between ethnic groups. If we speak about cultural appropriation, it's about this topic. It's about a dominant culture, so normally it's the white culture, that uses symbols of ethnic groups or of cultures that, historically speaking, have always been discriminated against by this white culture. It's especially problematic if you look at the use of symbols that have been prohibited to be used for this ethnic group. Or for example, these war bonnets, indigenous peoples or Native Americans were not allowed to use them. Or if you see with the history of slavery, religious symbols or the turban or other things were prohibited, so people were not allowed to use it, or if they used it were discriminated against, and so on. When you think that on the one hand, historically speaking, and until today, unfortunately, there is being discrimination of ethnic groups because of the use of these symbols, but at the same time you have a dominant culture that will use these symbols because they get trendy or they are exotic, they are fashionable, and they use it and make profit out of it and use it as it was something fun, simply, or something beautiful, without thinking on the history of the symbols, without thinking where they come from, without thinking what they mean to these people, without thinking about the history of discrimination. When I looked at my pictures, I felt bad. I felt that maybe I was reproducing what I would criticize a lot. I criticized injustice and I criticized discrimination against ethnic minorities. So, as a photographer, but also as a citizen, I didn't want to appropriate symbols, culture, because I also think that art is not here to hurt or to reproduce injustice or to produce dynamics that are bad and that hurt people, that offend people. That's not the purpose of art. Art is here to make us happy. Art is here to show beautiful things and also to, I think, speak about difficult topics, but in a respectful way and in a positive way, you know? I looked at my pictures and I didn't want to publish them anymore. I even started to hate them because I was really in this dilemma to feel that on the one hand I really loved the pictures and I also felt a strong connection to the pictures. I felt the pictures, they were communicating something nice, and I felt that the pictures were a part of me, you know? As an artist, you express something, and art is also about communication, about sharing what you think about, what you want to see more in the world, what, you know, art is much more than just doing something nice or beautiful, you know. I had this feeling that these pictures were important to me, I had a connection to them, but at the same time I felt super insecure because I didn't want to do something that hurts others. On Instagram I was speaking in my Instagram history about my doubts and what was going on in my head and why I was afraid I couldn't share my pictures. So I was already, you know, really transparent about what was going on, about my doubts, about what I find problematic of cultural appropriation. So I thought, okay, I need to find another solution. I cannot deal with it alone. I need help. I need people that have already thought about these topics. I need people that themselves have already experienced discrimination and judgment because of their ethnic origin. So I needed to speak with people whose opinion I value, and yeah, they would share with me their thoughts, would help me to have my own thoughts and reflections and to find the way I wanted to continue with these pictures, if I wanted to publish them, if I didn't, if I wanted to publish them in a certain way, or if I wanted to burn them, or, you know, I needed answers. And so I reached out to people in Brazil. I'm really lucky actually that I have also connections with people, for example, from social movements, or that are indigenous themselves, or that work with people that are indigenous, or that, you know, maybe in their studies and in their research think a lot about these social questions also, and these questions of power relationships and of ethnic minorities or ethnic groups. I reached out to these people, I wrote them, I explained them what I was experiencing, my insecurities, my reflections, my fear to do something that could be really bad. And at the same time I showed them some pictures and said, hey look, I love them actually, I really like them, and I would love to be able to share them, only if it's okay and if it's not offending anybody. I was actually already ready to get the answer like, well, you know what, you need to throw these pictures away, I'm sorry, they are maybe nice, but you're doing something off. I was surprised because this was not the answer that I got. I got many interesting thoughts and discussions, and yeah, it was super interesting. It helped me a lot to know how I wanted to position myself. And what I found actually really funny about that is that everybody started with the sentence, oh Mel, this is such a complicated topic. And I was like, okay, I'm not the only one that finds that complicated. It's really controversial, people have different opinion of it. Even people of the same ethnic minority will not have the same opinion. Some people will find it offensive, others not. It's complicated. And one of the answers I got a lot of people was, look, there is not one answer. And you have to see from one situation to another what is really cultural appropriation and what is really problematic. They themselves gave me some examples. So for example, one told me it's super problematic if you use dresses of indigenous peoples for carnival. She said it's not okay. It could be misinterpreted as making fun of people. Another person said, yeah, you know, there is this recipe that comes really from the African descendants of Brazil that have been enslaved. The recipe comes from them and is also linked to their rituals, the religion. There was this group that took exactly the same recipe and gave another name to it just to, you know, sell it with another name, and they said, yeah, that's super problematic, something like that. If you really have the intention to steal an idea from a culture just to make profit, it's always problematic. We spoke also about the example of the turban that is being discussed a lot in Brazil in this moment. If you have these fashion companies that are using the turban to advertise or, you know, to sell really expensive as something fashionable and itself, although it's actually a symbol of resistance of Black Brazilian. This is really problematic. There are problematic situations. For some of my friends, the answer was like, no, you know, the problem is if it's really a whole society or a whole structure or big companies that take away symbols from minorities without giving them, you know, what they deserve to get, at least, you know, explain where it comes from and, you know, give them a part of the profit or all of it. What I found really interesting was that they were saying to me, look, what you're doing is that you are already thinking about what you're doing. You are using the symbols maybe in a more conscious way than what we normally criticize when we speak about cultural appropriation, because cultural appropriation is exactly about taking symbols without thinking of the consequences of the history, of the context where the symbol comes from, and without saying, hey look, I have this symbol and it comes from this culture that is actually living these and these problems until now, today. You are already maybe using, but in a respectful way, the symbols. You're respecting these peoples, you're respecting their history and you are really conscious about what you're doing. I thought, okay, that's a good point. And actually, what one friend of mine told me was, look, you have doubts, you don't know, you feel insecure, use this fact to speak more about this. Share with other people what the problem with cultural appropriation is. Explain people what it is, because I think many people don't even know. And that's what I'm doing here with this video. I want to use my pictures to activate maybe a debate or at least some thought on how we want to treat each other in our societies and in this world. And I think it should always be with respect and with knowledge and with listening to others and dialogue, speaking to others to know if you're doing something wrong or something right. Be open. I think this is my message. Educate yourself. I mean, on the internet there is so much material. There is YouTube, there is, Google everything you want and you will find everything. And you can educate yourself and you can reach out to organizations that work with indigenous peoples or that work on other social topics that you may touch with your photographic work. I feel one of the important things that we should think about is that indigenous peoples are not only in books or in movies. We have an image as if it was something really exotic and really far away from us. This doesn't think about the fact that they exist and they have cultures and they live and they face problems, and so it's really important that we think about that. If we use these symbols, it's not just something abstract, something from a movie. It's from people that are still living, that are feeling, that are struggling. That I think it's important to at least educate ourselves a bit about what they live and who they are. And again, indigenous people are so many. There are many different communities, different peoples. I will put some links in the box below, so that you can also educate yourself if you want about what indigenous people are still facing today. They are still murdered, unfortunately, in many land conflicts. So, for example, in Brazil, the numbers of indigenous people that are being murdered are really high. We have seen with Standing Rock that there are still problems even in developed countries against indigenous people that are, they have less rights. Their sacred lands are still not them. Even if constitutions of some countries are saying that they have the right to have their lands, not done. They have still many struggles. And if you see indices to show the access to public goods in different countries, you will always see that indigenous peoples have less access to public goods than the dominant culture. Not speaking of discrimination, of racism, it still exists. I would love to live in a world where, everybody could share, and if I like something of your culture, I can, use it with respect, and you can use it with mine. And yeah, this is like my utopia, where everybody would be in a world where everybody is the same, and not the same in the sense of being the same, but it's, where there is justice and everybody has the same rights at least, and where we can share and be happy together. And this is my vision, and I would love that. But I totally get that unfortunately the world is not like that, and there still are power relationships, and there still are consequences of historical wrongdoings that were done against groups of people, and we need to acknowledge that. I think we need to acknowledge the problems that exist and that have existed and that have consequences until today, and wrongdoings that are still happening today. For myself, I decided that I love these pictures. I will publish them, but I feel it's my obligation to speak about this topic, about what are the problems that indigenous peoples are facing still today. I feel I need to do this in order to be a real exchange of symbols, of culture, of everything you want. You need to try to make a word that is more just and more equitable. I think I spoke a lot already. I hope it was interesting and it was useful. Maybe, you know, if you're also an artist, maybe you have already thought about similar things, or you will think. I hope so, actually. I hope we can be more reflective about what we do. We can be more open. We can try to be better persons. I think freedom of expression is really important, and you should do the work that you like and that you are, you know, you should really use things that you feel a connection to. But you should also try to respect other people, other cultures. I will show you some pictures of the photo shoot at the end of this video. You can see more on my Facebook page. The link is in the description box below. Also for my Instagram, follow me. I'm always happy. If you have questions, if I said some things that were not understandable at all, please write me a comment. I'm Mél from Mél Baierlé Photography. Thank you for your attention and see you soon. Bye bye!